Last January, I created a video to introduce medical terminology, show how medical terms are created, and how meaning can be discerned from their basic word parts. Now I want to begin creating modules linked to the articles and videos I have created and posted on various topics. In this way, you can learn some basic human anatomy and disease and begin to see medical terminology in action. In December, I created a video called Virus Basics. Shortly before that, I wrote an article on Naegleria fowleri, a parasite that causes a rare but deadly infection. So now seems like a good time to introduce a medical terminology module on the body's defense against infection and invasion by foreign substances, the immune system. The immune system includes the skin, also called the integumentary system. The skin is the first line of defense in the immune system. When you think of the integumentary system, think about how the skin protects the integrity of the body. Skin is the body's largest organ, and it is fairly complex, so we will discuss skin further in another module. The body produces a number of cells as part of the immune system, which are transported by the circulatory system to sites where they are needed. We will discuss some of the major features of the circulatory system shortly. Before we talk about the circulatory system, I want to mention that there are two kinds of immunity. One, innate immunity. Two, acquired immunity. Innate immunity is something you're born with. You do not require a vaccination or exposure to disease to have this type of immunity. It occurs as the body first recognizes and defends against invaders it encounters. Innate immunity influences and informs the body's future responses to the invader down the road. Acquired immunity, sometimes called adaptive immunity, occurs when your body has been exposed to an invader previously and responds more readily when encountering the infection again. Furthermore, there are two types of acquired immunity: natural and artificial. Natural immunity occurs because your body had the disease previously and fended it off. Artificial immunity comes as a result of a vaccination or other medical treatment. Finally, there is passive and active immunity. Natural passive immunity occurs as a mother passes on antibodies to her newborn, either across the placenta or through breast milk. Artificial passive immunity occurs when you get antibodies from someone or something outside your body. Passive immunity is short-lived because your immune system has not been triggered and will not remember the substance or invader. Active immunity occurs when your immune system has been triggered. Active acquired immunity, whether natural or artificial, is how most of us are protected day to day. Arteries and veins tend to run parallel to each other. Also running alongside the arteries and veins are the vessels and nodes of the lymphatic system. Arteries, veins, and the lymphatic system taken together are all part of the circulatory system, although often when people refer to the circulatory system, they are referring solely to the blood circulatory system. The lymphatic system has four main functions. It drains interstitial tissues, the tissues and areas between the cells, and returns fluid to blood circulation. It plays an important role as part of the immune system, and in the small intestines, lymph capillaries absorb dietary fat and allow it to enter blood circulation. Capillaries are minuscule vessels with very thin, porous walls where exchange of gas or other molecules and fluid can occur. Arteries and veins and the red blood cells, or RBCs, or erythrocytes that they carry, are most importantly involved in the respiratory system, which brings oxygen to tissues through blood vessel capillaries and removes carbon dioxide. We will talk extensively about the respiratory system in another module. However, blood also contains white blood cells, also known as WBCs or leukocytes, important for immune function. And platelets, important in blood clotting. Lymph fluid is derived from blood, but does not include red blood cells. Lymph works to bring proteins and excess interstitial fluid back to the bloodstream. It originates as some fluid leaks out from blood vessel capillaries. This creates the interstitial fluid mentioned above, which is later drained into lymph vessels and returned to blood circulation at a point where two lymph ducts, the largest lymph vessels, drain into veins at the base of the neck. The diagram on the right depicts the lymph vessels, nodes, and organs of the lymphatic system. Along the path of lymph vessels are lymph nodes. The lymph nodes are where invading microbes and foreign substances can be trapped and dealt with by the immune system's lymphocytes, by B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. More about these later. The lymphatic system also includes the spleen, thymus gland, tonsils, adenoids, Peyer's patches, and appendix, organs which are very important to immune response. The thymus is most important to a child's developing immune system. It is active and grows from fetal life into puberty. After puberty, it begins to decline in size and gradually becomes less active. Like many other organs and systems we see in the body, it has more than one role to play. It is important in both maturation of immune cells and as a hormone-producing gland. Right now, we want to focus on its importance in maturing the T lymphocytes mentioned above. From about the age of 60, it really starts to waste away until it is all but gone in old age. It is typically found anterior to, meaning in front of, the heart in the mediastinum, the area in the middle of the chest behind the breastbone. Now I want to focus on the cells of the immune system, which do all the heavy work of the immune system. There are 7 major types of white blood cells. some which can differentiate into still other cells with specific functions. I have marked them here with thin lined squares. The immune response is a complex interplay between these various types of white blood cells and, as mentioned previously, involves the organs of the lymphatic system. White blood cells are any cells produced in the bone marrow, found circulating in the blood, which do not carry iron and are not red. White blood cells include the lymphocytes mentioned previously, which, besides being found in the lymphatic system, also circulate in the blood. Among these leukocytes are cells with heavily granulated cytoplasm and multi-lobed segmented nuclei. These cells are called the polymorphonuclear leukocytes, PMNs, or granulocytes. They include three kinds: eosinophils, basophils, and neutrophils. We will look at each of these types of granulocytes next, starting with eosinophils. Eosinophils trap invading substances like bacteria, fungi, and are antiparasitic. Their cytoplasm contains many granules which release chemicals that are toxic to both the body's cells and invading organisms. Release of these granules is considered their most important function, according to many references, and the granules of the eosinophils stain red with a certain acidic dye. Let's take a minute to look at an actual blood slide as viewed under a light microscope. In this slide, a couple of eosinophils are pointed out. Eosinophils are phagocytes, meaning they engulf and swallow other substances or just to destroy them, though they are said to be less efficient at dispatching some invaders compared to neutrophils. Clinically elevated levels usually indicate anything from allergies to infections to cancer. As you can see, red blood cells compose most of the cells in the blood. Some of the red blood cells shown have been distorted in the process of making the microscopic slide. Platelets appear as pinkish pinpoint dots. Now on to basophils. Basophils release heparin and histamine. Basophil cytoplasm contains a lot of granules which stain blue with a certain basic dye. For basophils, a high count usually means chronic inflammation. Basophils decrease in number in response to a significant allergic reaction. Histamine helps the body rid itself of foreign substances like allergens. It is an important substance in the immune system and allergy reactions. Heparin is an anticoagulant, a blood thinner. Neutrophils are efficient phagocytes. They engulf and destroy bacteria, viruses, and fungi. The granules of neutrophil cells do not strongly absorb red or blue dye. They remain pale, and neutrophils have fewer granules compared to eosinophils or basophils. Neutrophils are the most frequent type of granulocyte in the blood, and a higher than normal count of neutrophils is associated with bacterial infections. They also release proteins which attract other immune components and cause inflammation. Some neutrophils here are depicted engulfing bacteria. The bacteria are the orange spheres seen inside some of the neutrophils. Monocytes are yet another kind of white blood cell. They have one large nucleus, though it may appear elongated, not perfectly round. They give rise to macrophages and dendritic cells. Monocytes become macrophages when they leave the bloodstream and enter the body tissue. Macrophages engulf foreign material and cellular debris and eliminate it. Dendritic cells digest foreign cells and present some of its antigens to other immune cells for destruction. Antigens are any substances or parts from cells or microorganisms which the body can recognize as foreign and mount a defense against. Thus, antigens are important in initiating immune responses. Think of antigens as tags. Like a tag, they have information, but the information is made of proteins, proteins that are unique to the thing they come from. Lymphocytes differentiate into B cells, T cells, and natural killer cells. Like monocytes, lymphocytes contain a single roundish nucleus. They are produced by stem cells in the bone marrow, though some T cells mature in the thymus. Lymphocytes are found concentrated in the tonsils, lymph nodes, and in the spleen, and are also circulated in the blood. A hemopoietic stem cell is depicted at the bottom of this diagram. A stem cell is a generalized cell that can change its size and shape to take on a specialized function. B cells carry receptors that detect harmful antigens. Once they detect a harmful antigen, they can then turn into plasma cells, which then give rise to antibodies. B cells can also detect some cancer cells. Antibodies produced by B cells circulate throughout the body, searching out other instances of the harmful antigen first detected by the B cell. Encountering harmful antigens, antibodies bind to them, marking whatever is carrying it for destruction. Another name for antibodies is immunoglobulins. Important types of immunoglobulins produced include IgM, IgA, IgG, IgE, and IgD. T cells differentiate into cytotoxic or killer T cells, helper T cells, and suppressor T cells. Cytotoxic T cells attach to the antigens of bacteria, viruses, fungi, or foreign tissue to kill the invaders. T cells also produce cytokines, such as interleukins and interferons, to assist other cells in the immune response. Helper T cells assist in the responses of B cells and other T cells. Suppressor T cells are also called TREGs or regulatory T cells. These cells turn off the immune responses after invading cells or foreign tissues have been destroyed. Natural killer cells are specialized lymphocytes, which are part of the natural or innate immune system. As part of the innate immune system, they can be triggered without requiring a past exposure to an antigen. They can recognize foreign substances and organisms and lyse them. Lyse means to burst or tear apart. Memory B cells and memory T cells, these are produced after the immune system has been triggered to respond to an antigen. These cells are long-lived and remain in the body after infection has passed. They carry the antigen of the invader and enable the body to respond more efficiently and quickly if that antigen is encountered again in the future. I want to mention one more important immune cell type, but it is not found in the blood. For that reason, I think many terminology texts do not consider it when dealing with the immune system. This important cell type is the mast cell. Here, a mast cell is depicted releasing histamine. Mast cells are derived from hemopoietic or blood-generating stem cells in the bone marrow and are found in mucous membranes and epithelial linings throughout the body. Epithelial tissue covers the body's entire surface, including the outermost layer of the skin, and lines hollow cavities and organs inside the body. Mast cells, like basophils, release histamine. They are important factors in allergic reactions as well as inflammation. Proteins found circulating in the blood that assist the immune system are part of the complement system. This marks the end of our review of the lymphatic and immune systems. It is quite a bit to digest, but we will be adding exercises soon to strengthen our learning. In the meantime, check out the links in the next slide to help you begin reinforcing your learning. You can link to a glossary, a list of morphemes, and some brief, interesting points of conversation.